Spoiler warnings, I'm about to rant about the Netflix series Iron Fist. So, you're warned, and I'm sorry. So Iron Fist failed for me on so many levels, and I'm kind of disappointed because the Netflix Marvel series has been a series I've highly enjoyed. They've been high production, high character driven dramas that I've really been able to sink my teeth into. And this latest release of Iron Fist, I was stoked for. This was going to be a kung fu movie of Marvel proportions. Can you imagine Marvel doing a kung fu movie with Chinese influence coming off the heels of Doctor Strange that just really opened up the Eastern mythology into the Marvel world? And guess what happened? It sucked. Oh my god, oh my god. This was so disappointing. First off, the guy they chose to play Iron Fist, I did not like him. Not because he's a white guy, not because of the curly hair, not because he is flip-floppy. It's because he is so unrelatable. I could relate to Luke Cage, a black man in Harlem. I could relate to that man. But Iron Fist, a white upper-class man, could not get behind him whatsoever. So unrelatable. And I think it was because he was a combination of whiny and a man trying to get what was owed to him. This type of stuff doesn't fly. It doesn't work, and no one cares that some rich guy is trying to get his inheritance. Now, Luke Cage has some serious problems. This isn't just with the actors, this is with the story, with the setup. There's a lot of problems. First major issue that came up with Iron Fist was unfortunately the opening. Now, I kind of understand where they were coming from. They were trying to make like a Tron-esque sounding soundtrack with kind of some Eastern undertones with it. Unfortunately, it was too mellow, it was too reserved, it didn't have a good hook to it, so it just became background music. I could tell where they're going with it, but they failed on every level with it. It was such a disappointment because it had the makings of greatness in it, just failed to live up to it. Now, that being said, the action, kind of horrible. There was no emphasis on the kung fu, it was just generic action for generic action. Daredevil had better emphasis on the kung fu. The story of Luke Cage is kind of underwhelming. It's about a rich boy who leaves his duty in a monastery with a gift he's earned to try to get back his inheritance. That is stupid. Like, I understand kind of why he left, but the reason why he's going after it, his inheritance, but it's so unrelatable and so white privilegey, there's no empathy that you gain from this guy. Also, it's kind of annoying that he comes off as like every new age stoner kid you've ever come across, and it sucks that his fighting style from Kung Lung is something that isn't really defined. Like, they didn't put any effort into making it recognizable or different from any other kung fu style. It was just some random thing he did. That being said, they had some interesting ideas in the show that I like that they tried to dive into. Unfortunately, all of them fell flat on their head. The driving force of the show was about control and about people who take control. They did it really well with Madame Gao. She controlled people through fear. I liked how Madame Gao went around controlling people. They also had a guy named Harold who was controlling people. Harold was controlling people through family. He was controlling it through personal family relationships and family ties. That was interesting. They even had a guy named Bakudo who controlled people through kindness, which I thought was a great three-sided conversation happening there. The interesting thing that happened is how Iron Fist tried to deal with it, which was he doesn't. He just doesn't talk to him anymore. He gives up and says, I'm going to walk my own path, which is a way of saying, I'm going to do the same thing I did in episode 1. No character arc whatsoever. He just stopped dealing with them. This was a sad waste, because that character dynamic of how people control others and like how cults are made, I was interested in how people under these type of influences would break free. And the sad part is they failed to deliver. They really did. The answer they provided was simply get over it. They didn't provide how to counteract them, how to call people out on it. It was just a simple way of saying people control you, and the only way to get around it is to destroy them. Now, I will let you know, I didn't hate all of Iron Fist. I gave it a lot of benefit of the doubt. The things that really stuck to me were they had 3 fights that I was really invested in. Unfortunately, out of the 3 fights, there was only one that was decently good. And those 3 fights were when Iron Fist got challenged by All of the Hand, most notably when he fought against a man with kunais, love kunais, personal favorite. The samurai fight in the rain, totally iconic, love that type of stuff. And then the one that was actually good, which is Iron Fist versus Drunken Master, which is fantastic. Unfortunately, no cameos by the one and only Drunken Master, but a glorious fight nonetheless. And sadly, outside of those fights and some fun concepts that they were trying to throw around with Control, nothing really to talk about. Now the rant. Now this is annoying. We just had Doctor Strange show that we could do Asian-inspired mythology and epics with great magic, and Iron Fist fits right into that. Like, he hangs out with Doctor Strange more often than not in the comics. Once every 15 years. Fantastic! That sounds amazing. We never see it. Ever. We just hear about it. Outside of that, there is the dragon. The dragon that gives Iron Fist the Iron Fist. And they never show the dragon. Ever. Do you know how disappointing that is? That's like going to a magic show and getting a lecture. That is so disappointing. You don't get to see Kung Lung, you don't get to see any of the awesome masters, you don't get to see any fancy techniques or any hidden chi things. It's just Iron Fist doing a blue-collar show about getting his inheritance back with crappy kung fu. Iron Fist didn't build off of anything that was already there. They just did blue-collar work. They didn't mention any mysticism. They didn't show any cool mystical things that only could happen in a world that has Doctor Strange, has Thor, has this Marvel universe. It's just white-collar crap. Marvel, I was really looking forward to this. This was supposed to be the Kung Fu movie. You already had your gritty realism with Daredevil. You already had your noir with Jessica Jones. You even had your black exploitations with Luke Cage. This was supposed to be an awesome throwback to those 70s Kung Fu movies that we all know and love, with a touch of mysticism and updated CG to bring in some extra elements. And you guys failed on every single front. The character's boring, the action's stupid, the story is an overall bust, and it doesn't add up to Defenders even slightly. It doesn't bring any new things to the table. It just makes you feel bad for watching it. And I'm sorry guys, you're better than this. Iron Fist deserves more than this, and you guys have failed us all. I hope you know what you've done. I hope you can fix it for Defenders. If not, this is the beginning of the end, man. I see it coming. This is the beginning of the fall of Marvel, and I hope you know what you're doing.